Have you ever felt it? That gentle, creeping fog that rolls in around 2 p.m. It's not exhaustion, it's a fading. The clarity you had in the morning softens, like watercolors bleeding into each other. The energy for your passions, maybe it's gardening, painting, or playing with your grandkids, just seems to recede, like the tide pulling away from shore. You settle into your chair, telling yourself it's just part of getting older. But what if it's not? What if that fog wasn't just a part of getting older? What if it was a quiet message, sent from the most familiar food on your plate? What if the answer weren't in a prescription bottle, but in a simple bowl of rice, sitting on your kitchen counter right now? Today, I want to share a story with you. A story about listening, about transformation, and about a 72-year-old man who found his afternoons again. I'm Dr. Anya Sharma. I'm what you might call a field gerontologist and bioempathy specialist. For the past 15 years, I've lived and worked in the world's blue zones, places where people don't just live to 100, they thrive past 100. I've sat in kitchens in Okinawa, walked olive groves in Sardinia, shared meals in Costa Rica's Nicoya Peninsula. I wasn't looking for a magic pill or a fountain of youth. I was looking for something much simpler, wisdom. And here's what I discovered. For years, we've been taught to see our bodies as machines that break down and need fixing. But the centenarians I met taught me the opposite. Our bodies are stories, living, breathing stories that have been trying to communicate with us every single day. That afternoon, fog you feel, that's not a malfunction, it's a chapter in your story, waiting to be understood. That gentle fatigue, that loss of mental clarity, it's not your body giving up. It's your body speaking to you in its own quiet language. My philosophy is simple. I call it bioempathy. It's the art of listening to the quiet language of your body, not to silence it, but to respond with wisdom. It's about becoming fluent in the conversation your body has been trying to have with you for years. Think of your body as a garden. The symptoms you experience aren't weeds to be yanked out. They're indicator plants, telling you about the quality of the soil, the amount of sunlight, the need for different nutrients. And today, well, start that conversation with something beautifully simple. A single bowl of rice. Now I know what you're thinking. Rice, really? We're often told that rice, especially white rice, is the enemy of blood sugar, a bad food, something to avoid, to feel guilty about. I've watched countless patients eliminate rice from their diets only to find themselves craving it, fighting it, feeling deprived. But what if the problem isn't the rice itself? What if the problem is our relationship with it? For thousands of years, rice has been a cornerstone of some of the world's longest living cultures. In Okinawa, they eat rice daily. In the mountains of Sardinia, they prepare it with intention, with ritual, with respect. They haven't stopped eating rice. They've stopped preparing it the way their great-grandmothers did. We've turned rice into fast food. We've stripped away the wisdom, the patience, the small ceremonies that transform a simple grain into medicine. Rice isn't the enemy. It's a misunderstood friend. And like any friendship that's gone off track, it doesn't need to be abandoned. It needs to be renewed. It needs attention. It needs a conversation. Let me tell you about Arthur. Arthur is a 72-year-old retired woodworker. His wife passed 3 years ago, and since then, his small workshop behind the house has become his sanctuary. The smell of sawdust, the feel of smooth wood under his hands, the satisfaction of creating something beautiful. These things keep him grounded, but lately, something has been shifting. Every morning, Arthur wakes up, clear-headed. His hands are steady. His mind is sharp. He can look at a piece of wood and see exactly what it wants to become. He'll spend the morning hours in his workshop measuring, cutting, shaping. Those are his golden hours. But then comes lunch. A simple meal, maybe some leftover chicken, a salad, and his usual bowl of white rice. Nothing fancy, nothing different from what he's eaten for decades. And then, like clockwork, the fog rolls in. The plans are clear in my head in the morning, Arthur told me during our first conversation. I can see every joint, every angle. But after I eat, it's like there's a veil between me and my work. My hands are still steady, but my mind is somewhere else. He'd find himself staring at his tools, unsure. The confidence to make that perfect final cut would evaporate. The afternoon would stretch ahead of him, heavy and unfocused. He'd end up abandoning his project, settling into his recliner with a sigh of frustration. This wasn't about pain. It wasn't about a diagnosis. It was about something much more precious, the quiet erosion of joy, the gradual loss of the sharp, clear afternoons that had always been his. Arthur was losing his afternoons one bowl of rice at a time. When Arthur came to me, he was expecting a diet plan, a list of restrictions, maybe a lecture about carbohydrates and blood sugar. Instead, I invited him to start a conversation. Arthur, I said I don't want you to stop eating rice. I want you to start talking to it. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But he listened. This week, before you cook your rice, I want you to give it 2 gifts. First, the gift of time. Let it soak for 30 minutes before you cook it. Just sit there with it. Let it absorb the water slowly, patiently. Second, the gift of acidity. Add a single splash of apple cider vinegar to the cooking water. Not much. Just enough to whisper to the rice that you're paying attention. That's it, Arthur asked. That's it, I said. Then just listen. See what your body tells you in the afternoon. Don't analyze it. Don't judge it. Just notice. Arthur nodded slowly. I can do that. Good. Because this is about fixing anything. Arthur, this is about starting a conversation that's been waiting to happen for a very long time. Arthur called me the following week, and I could hear something different in his voice. Dr. Sharma, he said I need to tell you what happened. I'm listening. The first few days I didn't notice much. I soaked the rice like you said, added that splash of vinegar. It felt different, like I was being intentional about something I'd done mindlessly for years. Go on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday still foggy in the afternoon, I almost gave up. But then Thursday came. Arthur paused, and I could hear him moving around his workshop. I was working on a jewelry box for my granddaughter, dovetail joints. You know, the kind that require precision. I'd eaten my usual lunch with the rice prepared the new way. And then I just kept working. What do you mean? I mean, I didn't feel that familiar pull toward the recliner. The heaviness wasn't there. It wasn't that I suddenly had more energy. It was that I had less of a burden. The fog was still there, but it was thinner, like a morning mist instead of a thick London fog. Arthur's voice grew stronger as he continued. By Friday, I realized something remarkable. I was present with my work in a way I hadn't been in months. My hands weren't just steady. My mind was steady too. I could feel the wood responding to my touch. I could trust my instincts about when a joint was perfect. And how did that make you feel? Like I was having a conversation with my craft again. Like I was myself again. That afternoon, Arthur spent 3 uninterrupted hours in his workshop for the first time in months. He felt the deep satisfaction of being fully present with his hands and his heart. Now let me tell you what was happening in Arthur's body during those afternoons. But I want to explain it, the way Arthur would understand it, through the lens of his craft. Think of the starch in rice as logs floating down a river toward your body's power plant. This power plant. Your cells needs these logs to create energy. But here's the problem. When you eat regular rice, all the logs arrive at once, creating a massive log jam at the power plant. Your body panics. It releases a flood of insulin to deal with this sudden traffic jam. Your blood sugar spikes sharply, then crashes just as dramatically. That crash. That's your afternoon fog rolling in. But when Arthur soaked his rice and added vinegar, something beautiful happened. He hired a skilled river guide, the gift of time. Soaking. When you soak rice, you're allowing the starches to begin breaking down. Slowly, gently, the logs start their journey down the river in a more organized fashion. No sudden rush, no chaos at the power plant. The gift of acidity, Vinegar. That splash of apple cider, vinegar acts like a wise foreman, slowing down the release of logs even more. The acetic acid literally changes the structure of the starch, making it more resistant to quick breakdown. The logs arrive at your cells in a steady, manageable stream. But Arthur's journey didn't stop there. As the weeks went on, we added 3 more elements to his rice ritual. The safety net, oats. I said, try adding a teaspoon of rolled oats to your rice while it cooks. This was like weaving a net of fiber across the river. The oats create additional texture, additional resistance. Some of the logs get caught in this net, slowing down even more. The result? An even gentler, more sustained flow of energy. The maintenance crew, turmeric. A pinch of turmeric in the cooking water became like sending a maintenance crew to clean the power plant itself. Turmeric contains curcumin, which helps improve insulin sensitivity. Your cells become more efficient at processing those logs of energy. The same amount of rice now produces steadier, longer-lasting fuel. The transformation, cooling. And then came the most beautiful part. Cook extra rice, I told Arthur. Let it cool completely in the refrigerator before reheating. This cooling process performs a kind of alchemy. Some of those logs transform into what we call nursery logs, resistant starch, that bypasses the power plant entirely and travels downstream to nourish the vibrant ecosystem in your gut. These beneficial bacteria feast on this resistant starch, producing compounds that help stabilize your blood sugar. For hours, sometimes days, it's like Arthur was not just feeding himself but cultivating an internal garden of health. Each of these changes was small, simple, but together they transformed Arthur's relationship. With his afternoon, he wasn't just eating rice anymore. He was having a conversation with his body, speaking in the language of intention and care. It was 3 weeks after Arthur started his rice ritual, a Tuesday afternoon in late September. Arthur was in his workshop, sanding a rocking chair he'd been crafting for his newest great-grandchild. The late afternoon sun streamed through the dusty window, casting long shadows across his workbench. The wood was red oak, beautiful but demanding. It required patience, attention, a steady hand. He was lost in the rhythm of his work. The gentle rasp of sandpaper against wood grain, the gradual emergence of silk-smooth surface from rough lumber. His movements were precise, confident, each stroke deliberate, and then it hit him. Arthur paused, his hand still on the wood. He looked at his watch. 4:17 p.m. he'd been working for over 2 hours, straight, completely absorbed, completely present. For the first time in months, he hadn't even thought about a nap. The fog hadn't come. His mind was clear, sharp-focused. He could feel the wood responding to his touch, could sense exactly how much more sanding this piece needed. He ran his hand over the smooth surface of the chair's arm, and something profound settled in his chest. A recognition, a homecoming. "I'm back," he whispered to the empty workshop. "I'm actually back." Arthur hadn't just changed how he cooked rice. He had reclaimed his afternoon. He had reclaimed his craft. He had reclaimed a piece of himself that he thought was lost forever. The wood under his hand felt like silk, and for the first time in a very long time, his mind felt just as smooth, just as clear, just as ready to create something beautiful. Arthur's story isn't just about rice. It's about something much deeper, much more transformative. It's about the power of dialogue. It's about shifting from being a passive consumer of food to becoming an active participant in your own well-being. It's about recognizing that your body has been trying to have a conversation with you for years, and you simply haven't been listening. What Arthur discovered was a list of 5 hacks to optimize his blood sugar. He discovered a framework for listening, a way of approaching not just his food, but his entire life, with intention and awareness. You can apply this same principle to the way you drink your morning coffee. Instead of rushing through it, what if you took a moment to truly taste it, to notice how it makes you feel? 20 minutes later, an hour later, You can apply it to the way you take your evening walk instead of just going through the motions. What if you paid attention to how your body responds to different paces, different routes, different times of day? You can apply it to the way you breathe, the way you sleep, the way you move through your day. Bioempathy isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about treating your body not as a machine that needs fixing, but as a wise friend who's been trying to help you all along. The 5 changes Arthur made to his rice soaking, adding vinegar, including oats, sprinkling turmeric, and cooling. These weren't magic tricks. They were acts of attention, acts of respect, acts of love. And your body, no matter what age, no matter what challenges you're facing, is waiting for that same kind of attention. So my invitation to you is this: don't just copy Arthur's story, start your own. This week I want you to pick one thing, just one, that you eat regularly. Maybe it's your morning oatmeal, maybe it's your afternoon snack, maybe it's that bowl of rice you've been having for dinner. Ask yourself, how can I prepare this with more intention? How can I turn this from a mindless habit into a conscious conversation? Then listen. Really listen. Notice how you feel 20 minutes after eating. Notice your energy levels. An hour later, notice the quality of your sleep that night. Don't analyse. Don't judge, just notice. That noticing, that's the beginning of bioempathy. That's the beginning of true lasting health. That's the beginning of reclaiming not just your afternoons, but your entire relationship with the wisdom of your own body. Take wonderful care of yourself, and remember this: your body is not a problem to be solved. It is a story to be honored. A conversation partner who's been waiting patiently for you to start listening. The afternoon fog doesn't have to be permanent. The clarity you remember from your younger years isn't lost forever. It's been there all along, waiting for you to create the conditions for it to return. Start listening today. You might be surprised at the wisdom you find.